MSNBC host claims it's hard to understand exactly what Kimmel's MAGA smear meant. MSNBC's Ari Melber has entered the national conversation surrounding the indefinite suspension of Jimmy Kimmel Live by ABC, using his platform on The Beat to critique the network's decision. The host, who has a background in First Amendment law, argued that the punishment for Kimmel's monologue on the assassination of conservative activist Charlie Kirk was disproportionate to the offense and that the smear itself was hard to understand. The vague monologue and swift fallout. The controversy began with a monologue Kimmel delivered shortly after Kirk's tragic death. In his remarks, Kimmel accused the MAGA gang of desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and of doing everything they can to score political points from it. The shooter, Tyler Robinson, was later identified by authorities as a man with leftist ideology. While Kimmel's comments did not directly accuse any specific individual of a crime, they were a critique of a perceived political strategy to leverage a tragedy for partisan gain. However, the comments were widely and immediately condemned by conservative media and political figures who portrayed them as a baseless and insensitive attack on the MAGA movement. This narrative gained significant traction, with some conservative outlets and personalities even suggesting that Kimmel was intentionally misleading the public about the shooter's political leanings. The backlash was not just rhetorical. It was quickly amplified by powerful entities, including the Federal Communications Commission, FCC. FCC Chairman Brendan Carr, a Trump appointee, publicly warned that the network and its local affiliates could face repercussions if Kimmel was not disciplined. Major local station owners, such as Nexter Media Group and Sinclair Broadcast Group, also announced that they would stop airing the show, citing Kimmel's offensive and insensitive remarks. It was in this environment of escalating pressure that ABC made the unprecedented decision to indefinitely suspend the show. Melber's legal and political analysis. In his segment on The Beat, Ari Melber, a seasoned legal analyst, dissected the events with a critical eye, framing the issue not just as a media controversy, but as a dangerous erosion of free speech. He argued that the very nature of Kimmel's comments made the network's action all the more alarming. What exactly was the smear? Melber asked rhetorically, suggesting that the critique was vague enough to be interpreted as a form of political satire rather than a direct falsehood. Melber's analysis centered on the chilling effect that ABC's decision could have. By caving to political and corporate pressure, he argued, the network was setting a dangerous precedent, signaling that comedy and commentary that are critical of powerful political figures are now off limits. He pointed out the hypocrisy of a network suspending a show over what could be considered a minor offense, while other forms of media are filled with much more aggressive and unfounded accusations on a daily basis. The MSNBC host was joined by other commentators who echoed his concerns. They highlighted the involvement of the FCC and major broadcast corporations as a sign of a coordinated effort to silence critical voices. The sentiment among Melber's guests and many free speech advocates is that the suspension of Kimmel was not about the monologue itself, but a larger effort to use economic and regulatory pressure to police media content and punish dissent. The incident has now become a flashpoint in the national debate over corporate censorship and the role of political influence in shaping media landscapes, with the question of whether Kimmel will ever return to the air remaining a central point of discussion.